So to piggyback on my last, I don't know, revelation, okay, about why it is that the Luciferians in our Judeo-Christian society focus on Egypt, and it was not one of the cradles of civilization. It was an ancient civilization, but it was not one of the original cradles of civilization. And so I'm looking at my wall of notes, and I'm like, all of us have DNA from the original Sumerian pantheon. And so I went somewhere with this because all of us have come from some aspects of the original humans. Okay? We all did. I mean, there is no original human here on Earth, or we would have either Neanderthal 100%, or we would have Australopithecus or Homo erectus. But Homo sapien, humanity, is a hybridization of the original gods that came down and came up, wherever you want to call it, and innovated all of humanity. Okay? And so I'm going over this because I have to understand religion. I must understand religion because a religion is all about how it came to be to begin with and where you think you're going to end up, because it's all about life and then death, beginning, middle, and end. And so I am now attempting to say we don't have to die. We just have to understand what it's like to evolve and deal with the evolution. So all of us have the DNA from the original Sumerian pantheon. Some of us have more DNA from the original gods. Well, who are the original Sumerian pantheon and what were their names? Well, we have An, which is the first god. And was he the original one that came down first? And then what did he do? Did he bring his friends from out there? I mean, these are the things that we don't know. Are they from other galaxies, like they were saying, that these were the original advanced humans that played laboratory on Earth as well as the solar system here in the Milky Way galaxy? And I mean, you can kind of get an idea of how they want to characterize the gods that came after, let's say An or Zeus, if you want to look at Greek mythology, because they both have a correlation. You can say one came from the other and one came from like the rib. And I mean, you can play all that, but forget all the allegory and just look up there. Each of the 7 pantheons, you have An, you have Enlil, Enki, Ninhursag, Nanna, Utu, Inanna. And so the polytheistic religions recognize all the Sumerian pantheons, as well as the Greek pantheon and the Egyptian pantheon, because they have their own, gods, and the other pantheons of the 5 other original cradles of civilization that came afterwards. Okay? And so even though the Egyptian pantheon wasn't part of the original 6 cradles of civilization, I have hypothesized that the reason why the Luciferians mention the Egyptian civilization pantheon, because it was closest to their historical roots because of Exodus. Genesis was when God made heaven and earth. What God, which God, how many gods? Were they all colluding together? Was it one God that did it and someone stole it from? Who knows? Okay. Then there was the 6 cradles of civilization, but Exodus was the story of a people who were under one God that was enslaving them in the land of Egypt. And so that's why the Luciferians are more Semitic than not, why we live in a Judeo-Christian society, because it is depicted after the 5 books of Moses, and then Christianity was the modernization of it, keeping to the same theme of monotheism. So monotheistic religions only look at the original God and call it different names, which is the first God on the list above, An, okay, or Elohim, okay, or they worship any one of the original pantheon for whatever reason. So now, what is this paganism? This is what I hear people use the word paganism. I know somebody that I let go from my Facebook world, and she believes in the Jehovah's Witness and doesn't agree with the paganism. Well, what is paganism? Well, paganism is all about worshiping the different gods of the pantheon. Because paganism, even though they still recognize On, they also recognize all the other gods that were of fertility, maybe were of like darkness and death, but it's called something different. I don't know. I think which one is like, what is it? Is it Inanna? Lilith? No, Ninhursag. Ninhursag is like the goddess of death, but then they also have testosteronized it and called it like Satan, or what do you call it? Malified it. I don't know how you'd say it when you Gaified it and called it Satan. But and that's probably why women kind of get that women who are very, very beautiful and very sexual can have that negative, pejorative light on them because of the whole death and reproduction, war and reproduction. Okay, so paganism is all about worshiping the different gods because paganism is about honoring each of the gods' specialties. Halloween versus Easter versus Christmas versus, and then the summer, winter, and fall solstice. And so then you get into then all the different druid stuff and all that. Okay, so I get the bigger picture now. I really get the bigger picture now. And so that's why I see why there's such an issue with paganism and the Christianity, because they're still all about a very monotheistic type of thing. You can call it Jehovah, Jesus, one of the specific gods. I don't even know which one they were referring to. Okay, I mean, you have 7 gods, and were they related to each other? Did they come from different points of the galaxy and they all hung out and colluded together? I don't have any idea if that's true, but most likely, I mean, even if they were all related to each other, they still came from an origination that could be all related, and then they all went off into their different familial factions on different galaxies, different planets, whatever, and then they used the solar system, our current solar system, as a petri dish. So I'm now trying to demystify what religion is, demystify what the intention of each religion is. I mean, because polytheistical is many gods versus monotheistical one god. It's only 2 sides of the same coin. You worship one of those gods. Okay, some people are satanic and they worship something dark, or some people are very, very enlightened and there's a god of sky. Which one is the god of sun, or is it Utu? So you can call it Luciferian, and people say Luciferian and Satanism are the same thing, and no, they're not. Physics-wise, no, they're not, and even religious-wise, no, they're not. But it's the misinformation on the internet because someone doesn't like another person's way of worshiping something, and the intolerance. We have so many people with different factions in a cured state that doesn't want to take in new information, doesn't want to evolve. And so the whole jelly juice mentality is taking all of the DNA that's mixed from the original different gods and putting it all together and forcing everyone to adapt to each other. And there's going to be conflict. Because when you put someone who's a born-again Christian next to someone who is a pagan Christian, you put someone next who is a Jehovah's Witness next to a pagan Christian, they're going to conflict. One's going to try to convert through oxytocin or through brutality. One of the two. I mean, you create demons and you create angels from oxytocin or brutality. And I get the bigger picture. And that's how you can control an ignorant human race that doesn't know their own origins and doesn't know really what the intention of the future is. Okay? And so the virus, which is basically a programming, is going to attempt to evolve those who are strong enough for the new environment and the new changes in the economy, the changes in politics, religion, and science. And so this virus is going to level the playing field. Only the strong are going to survive. And the ones that, are going to stay in a cured state with their salt, with the J juice, and stay on indefinitely, those that are getting all the vectors to stop the new evolution from the COVID-19, the ones that get all their pills, powder supplements, and detoxes, and are lost in all the distractions, they're not going to survive to the new world. it's the new babies that are going to be CRISPR gene edited, going to be poked and prodded, going to be bioengineered, and also transhumanized. Those are the ones that are going to survive. And then those on the J juice who got off the J juice and are dealing with the viruses, dealing with the symptoms, eating all the food in the food supply, as well as also adapting to the new viral variants without resisting the evolution, and accepting mankind and their belief systems relative to where they came from, not trying to resist, but if the other person's trying to convert you, that you just put your boundaries down and say, that's you over there, I'm over here, we can still live symbiotically, but you're not going to cross your boundaries, and I'm not going to cross your boundaries, and we can still live happily ever after. Okay? And so that's what the New World Order is attempting to do, is saying, okay, we tried to evolve Afghanistan. They weren't strong enough to deal with a very, very strong Taliban. So we had to leave, or lose more soldiers to just a lost cause. And so, yeah, the whole Georgia Guidestones is about now finally leveling the playing field, allowing nations to be autonomous, and the strong are only going to survive in each of these different nations. We're going to give people the opportunity to evolve and give them the choice. And if they choose to destroy themselves through whatever, then that's fine, as long as they do it in a dignified manner and they don't take down many people with them. They do it themselves. And that's the medical, holistic, energy healing world. And then we also allow people to evolve if they choose to. They're not going to withhold food from us. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of supply lines be slowing down, but you're still going to be fed. You're still going to have even your most basic ingredients out there. And so I realized that, I have fish in my area. I can get fish. There's going to be lab grown meat at some point. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to fulfill the intentions of the New World Order, which is to understand how to utilize the laboratory, which is no different than animals. Animals came from a laboratory too. Remember, animals were bioengineered, humans were bioengineered. Your plants and everything in your society has been bioengineered. And so because you didn't see it out there grazing in the field doesn't mean that you can't take what was out there in the field and put it in a lab and not make it a sentient being, but it's still nutritious. You could still survive on lab grown anything. Because animals and humans were bioengineered. We were grown in a lab called Earth. And so when you take the lab called Earth and you put it in a sterile environment, you can still make the same thing, but now it's in a sterile environment. Why does that be sterile? Because they don't want to have any outside anomalous forces then factoring into a very specific intention or experiment. Okay? So I'm telling you, I get it now. I get the bigger picture. But I also understand why the Egyptian pantheon is so predominant in the Judeo-Christian society. Because it has everything to do with Exodus, the second book of Moses. And has everything to do with us being freed from I was raised Jewish, but freed from the land of Egypt that was enslaving the Jews. And then one of the gods said, okay, we're going to save you from that other god. And we're now going to say, we're going to nation build. You're going to follow the 10 commandments. And this is what I expect of you. And so Moses let everybody out, and then the Red Sea parted. They went out to the land of Canaan, and they went through their trials and tribulations. And then at some point, Jesus came out from all of that and then was used as an idol. Okay? And so, one God, many gods, does it even matter? Why don't you worship yourself? You hold all the power that your creator held at the time of conception when you were created. Okay? You are now being given all of the clues on how to stay alive. No, I'm not going to be like magically appearing something in front of me. It takes machinery. It takes technology. It takes, innovation to materialize objects. When it comes to alchemy, it's putting together solutions and minerals and other things to then create an outcome. You're made up of hormones. You're made up of everything that's out there in the universe. Image, electrical impulses, matter, acids, gases. The gods knew how to capture specific elements. They knew how to do chemical reactions to create big bangs. That's what CERN is. CERN is trying to create a big bang here on Earth, which, you know, if they do that, they'll destroy Earth. So they're going to be very careful with it or destroy themselves. And they don't want to destroy themselves. But that's what CERN is attempting to do. It's trying to collide particles here on Earth. No different than what happens out there in space when you have supernovas and big bangs. Okay? So just understand not everything is satanic. If you're like all about, oh my God, this person's satanic, that person's satanic. Satanic means that you're basically waiting to die, that you want to die, you believe in death. You want to be in a cured state and eventually die. That's what Satanism is, honoring death as if it was to be expected. Now, I honor those that choose to destroy themselves. Do I honor death? No. It's a balance. It's a balancing force. That's why there's Ninhursag, the woman of the night, because there's a balance of night and day. But do I actually worship destroying something? I don't destroy anything. I'm trying to build things up, but there are people out there that destroy things. If they choose to destroy themselves, that's fine. If you choose to destroy somebody else, then it has to be state sanctioned through the medical system. It's called antibiotics. It's called doing all the things that they do in the medical holistic energy healing world. Genociding you at the micro level. And so if you're part of the medical holistic healing world, okay, and you haven't figured out how to, if you don't have your own business, then you're following a very satanic organization when you think about it. Okay, so I don't want to hear anyone calling anyone satanic if you're in an industry that's all about destroying people at the micro level. I don't want to call you satanic either, because that's very pejorative. But if you want to technically look at who is satanic, are those that destroy people at the micro level. Whether it's indirectly because you're helping a patient in the medical system, so you're drawing money from a very deadly operation, but it's like the incremental. It's not like outright death unless a person chooses, well, euthanasia is only practiced through very specific circumstances. But even drawing a paycheck because you're working as a medical assistant for a doctor's office who you know is dealing with antibiotics, you're supporting the satanic system. So I don't want to hear anyone calling anybody satanic if you are practicing that. And so there is a balance of light and dark. So you promote light or you promote darkness. And if you're calling someone satanic, well, you know, that's pejorative. And it's saying that you are all light and love and, well, not love, but you're all light and all about life, but yet you're dying and reproducing. So I don't call anyone satanic. I'm just like, hey, if you choose to destroy yourself, fine. If you choose to worship that God, you know, that's one of the seven, that may be the God of darkness, fine. Just stay away from me. I don't worship that same, you know, I don't really worship. I just worship life, whatever that life is. But death is part of life. So do you worship? Well, see, that's where the whole thing of like, taking a side. Because life is about not having too much life to usurp all the resources. And death is about having no life. Okay? And so they balance each other out. So there's nothing wrong with it, but you've got to choose which side you belong on. And so if you're all about balancing out society, you're part of the Georgia Guidestones. If you're part of the medical system, you're part of the Georgia Guidestones. If you're part of the medical holistic energy healing world and you're all against the Georgia Guidestones, you're hypocritical. So either you promote life or you promote the balance of keeping the life around by allowing those to pass away at their choosing. And so then really, are you a bad person? No. But you can't call anyone satanic. So, all right. It's kind of weird how all this works. Bye.